Please welcome the head of Alipay International and Senior Vice President at Ant Financial Services Group, Doug Feagin, and the co-host of Squawk Alley from CNBC, Kayla Tausche.
I hope no one's expecting us to rap or do any choreography, despite the fact that we have our Britney Spears mics on. We're just going to have a conversation, Doug. You've been in this role at Alipay and Ant Financial for 4 months.
Yes.
Climbing up the steep learning curve from investment banking. Tell us what you've learned about what Alipay and Ant Financial are and what they want to be.
Sure. Well, thank you, and I'm very glad to be here at Money 2020. It's a great conference, and appreciate the chance to talk with you today, Kayla. For Ant Financial, it's a fascinating company. It's been a great opportunity for me to join. We're really a tech company that provides digital financial services to our consumers. And we're very fortunate to have over 450 million consumers in China. And these consumers interact with our application, Alipay, on a very active basis. Over 180 million transactions per day on Alipay. And we have a partnership with merchants around the world, millions of merchants around the world to provide our services. And we also work with a lot of financial institutions in doing that. So it's a very interesting kind of ecosystem of products that we provide to our consumers. One of the most important things about the company that I've learned and since joining has become really apparent to me is the importance that we place on financial inclusion. And we believe that financial services should be simple, low cost, and available to the many, not the few. And so that's part of our mission, and we reach out to consumers across China to provide a global lifestyle that they could have never enjoyed before. And so that's been one of the most rewarding parts of the job in thinking about the platform.
So where do you think Alipay and the Ant Financial products are most underrepresented right now? When you think about inclusion, when you think about growth and globalization, which is your primary focus in your current role, where do you start?
Well, we started first in looking at kind of what we can really do on Alipay within China, and it started as a payment mechanism for online services, and then it expanded beyond that to really provide a kind of a global lifestyle, and that really is much more comprehensive for an average person. Just to give you a little vignette as to kind of what we can do and where we see the opportunity for our business. The average consumer using Alipay, let me give you a sense of their daily activity. If they wake up in the morning, they're going to work. They can look on their mobile phone. If they're going on a bus, a subway, a DD taxi, they can look for that, find the schedule, and then pay for it. If they're then going to lunch with friends, they can choose a restaurant, look at the menu, and then if they go to that restaurant and they're sharing the bill, they can share that through Alipay with their friends and automatically split up the bill. Then in the afternoon, let's say, for example, they got sick and need to go to the hospital. We provide healthcare and financial services to them so they can make an appointment in a hospital and go. You can even do things if you want to get married. You can make an appointment to go to the local government and get your marriage license on Alipay. So it's a complete suite of services that we provide to our consumers. And to your question of where is it needed, what we found in China was that there were many people who were not part of the existing financial services system today. They didn't have a bank account. They didn't have access to the types of products and payment mechanisms that we offered. And so we've launched our product across China, and as I said, reached 450 million people by doing that. We see a great need to do that around the world, and we're looking to expand our business globally, both through expanding the merchant network and also through partnerships with local companies where we can do similar things in terms of financial inclusion for people.
So where might we start to see the Alipay brand pop up here in the US?
Well, you see it in a bunch of different places. Our merchant network today is expanding quite rapidly, and we've worked with a lot of acquirers and other financial services companies to expand that. And so in the US specifically today, you'll see, for example, duty-free stores in San Francisco. You can see Alipay accepted. And this will expand out as we build the network. And you may ask, how exactly are we going to go do that in terms of building the network? Well, we've partnered with merchant acquirers in Europe, so folks like Concardis, Wirecard, and Ingenico. We recently announced a partnership with them. In Asia, we partner with folks in Japan like Recruit, Korea, folks like KICC. And I'm very pleased actually today to announce here at Money 2020 new partnerships that we're going to form with First Data and with Verifone to provide greater acceptance across the United States. And so I think everyone knows here everyone here knows those companies and the reach that they have. We'll be working with them, similar to other partnerships we have, to spread Alipay across the US. In terms of the merchants where that will go, it'll start out with the merchants where Chinese travelers abroad are looking to buy goods and services, and what they're looking for. So in duty-free stores, shopping, dining, and going in those places. But it'll expand much beyond that to areas where they may go look for specific items that they want to purchase, novelties or things like that. And then they may go to other tourist areas across the US. So we really plan to build a much broader network across the country as that expands.
So it's a very tourism-centric strategy. I mean, you're talking about airports, duty-free shops. What is Chinese tourism like? Where's the growth? Where do you expect those tourists to be spending money and utilizing Alipay as they go outside the country?
Yeah. So looking to expand today, the Chinese tourism industry is really a booming one. Last year, over 120 million Chinese tourists went outside the mainland. And that number was 17% up year over year of what it was before. So, like with all things China, we're not talking about small numbers. These are big numbers of folks going abroad. And importantly, that number is not only increasing, but the average spend is already today amongst the highest of travelers around the world. Because there's a relatively higher luxury tax in China, so when people travel abroad, they tend to buy more goods that they wouldn't necessarily purchase at home. And we're looking to kind of follow them and to see that expansion continue. And so you'll see that expand across the United States as these consumers come abroad. And we really look to serve kind of all their needs when they come here. The interesting thing about the Alipay app, when you think about how it's actually used, our consumers in China can take a look at the app before they go on their trip and say, for example, I'm going to the United States, I'm going to be landing in San Francisco, what hotel should I choose? What sites should I go see? Where should I have dinner? And they can make those selections up front before they even leave China. And so benefiting US merchants today here, we can connect them with the consumers even before they make the trip. Then when they land at San Francisco Airport, we have location-based services, and so we can communicate with them directly about what they may need in San Francisco on that day. Today, this restaurant has a special on this type of food that you may like. Or today, this tourism site will give a special offer for you to go there. And then the consumer can plan and enjoy their trip here over the course of that day. And then when they go back to China, we can enable the merchants here to continue to connect with that consumer by going from offline sales to online sales. And so if they purchased a dress or something like here, and then they want to fill out the wardrobe, they can look online, buy the shoes and things that go along with that, and continue the relationship with the merchant. So we provide kind of a holistic service to the consumers in thinking about what they want to do when they travel abroad. And similarly for the merchants, we enable them to connect back to the consumers in a very holistic way. And so we think this is a very innovative offering and one that really serves the needs of both sides of the equation.
With 450 million users, I mean, that's something that most companies would only dream of in the payment space. Do you feel competitive pressure?
Absolutely, we feel competitive pressure. The payments industry has many sophisticated players in it, and we are an additional company coming to the equation. And so we see competitive pressure to think about how we can be innovative, how we can improve our product and service offering, every day. And so, how do we think about that? How do we react to that? Is first being in very close contact with our consumers and looking at what they need and how to provide more to them and better.
What are some of the things they're asking you for right now?
Well, they really want to, the Chinese consumers love to, as I said, buy things. And so they're always looking for a bargain. And so we're constantly working to think about where are those bargains and to offer more bargains through Alipay to our consumers. And so fortunately, we've been able to work with a lot of merchants here to really do that. And you can see the ultimate of this is in our shopping festival on 11/11, so November 11th. And in Double 11, there are a huge number of offerings to consumers, and this is kind of the development of a lot of feedback from consumers about where can they find real bargains. And so in this concentrated 24-hour period, we give all the merchants a chance to list things online and the consumers a chance to buy them, which has proved to be hugely successful.
As someone who's responsible for a product where on the back end you processed last year, 85,000 transactions per second?
Yes.
How do you prepare for the growth on top of that number that you'll see this year?
Yeah, it's a pretty daunting task, frankly. We work very closely with Alibaba and all of the e-commerce sites that they run, which are the basis upon which all these transactions are executed. And we've been planning for months to get prepared for this volume. Last year, $14.3 billion spent on Double 11 in China alone. This year, we think that will increase above that. And as you mentioned, 85,000 transactions a second is really an amazing volume. I have teams of engineers in a war room right now in Hangzhou and Shanghai preparing for this. And we're working with our partners, many of whom are in the room here today, who are going to be processing this volume from foreigners who are purchasing on these websites as well. And so there's a whole global system that needs to come together and be prepared to kind of hit those volumes. And so we're working vigorously to make sure that we're in good shape for that.
How big a share do you think U.S. consumer spending of 11/11 will become? I mean, it was a holiday that was created in China by Alibaba, so it is very inherent to the culture over there, but it's something that now we've all become aware of too. And if there are deals, there are deals.
I want to go for them, that's right. No, today, frankly, it's really predominantly in China, and so we think that will probably persist for the next year or two, just as there are so many consumers there and they're purchasing and so focused on it. But I think this year, one of the themes is that it's to buy global and to sell global. And so we'll see more and more folks from the United States, from Europe, from other places buying on our platforms like Tmall, where you can now purchase globally. So today, it's actually a pretty small volume. But I think that this year, with that starting to build and then moving into the next couple of years, we'll see it be a real appreciable portion of the volume on our sites. So it's pretty exciting when you look at it and see where it can all develop. These shopping festivals were only started a few years ago, and to now have 14.3 billion, that's many-fold what Black Friday and even the whole Thanksgiving holiday is here in the United States, where I think it was 4.5 billion last year. So we see a lot of opportunity for expansion.
But obviously, a lot of companies want to figure out how to get a piece of that pie. Visa, MasterCard applying for licenses to operate in China. Will that change the way that you do business?
Well, the Chinese payments landscape is certainly changing, and as you mentioned, opening up. And so, I think we'll continue to see more and more players participating in mainland China and indeed around the world. I think it will change the landscape. By definition, the landscape changes all the time. But we just focus on what we can do in terms of providing our consumers the best product and the best insight into what they can purchase. And so, we think with continued focus on that, we'll continue to be able to have, a very healthy business. And indeed, today, if you look on Alibaba, there are multiple payment options. And so Alipay is the most prominent one, but Visa, MasterCard people can use today on those sites. And so we, together with Alibaba, have always believed in an open ecosystem, and to be open in terms of payment options, open in terms of what people can buy and who can buy. And we will continue to maintain that philosophy as we develop the business.
Could you see Alipay becoming embedded on an e-commerce site for a major US retailer? Are we close to that?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, today we're in discussion with many U.S. retailers about selling online as well as offline. And with the partnerships that we have here today, we would very much like to have Alipay accepted broadly here. And online will be a very important part of that strategy as we open up the available services, the available options for where the Chinese can buy. And they clearly buy lots of goods and services on Taobao and Tmall, the major sites of Alibaba in China. But increasingly, Chinese consumers want to look abroad to other sites and to look for other things, and so we're very happy to help them do that in these other markets.
Partnership with First Data and Verifone will eventually give you access to 1 million brick and mortar merchants. What would you like to grow that to? And what would you like to grow your user base to? How can a company that's already so big even put a fine point on where you hope to be 5-10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, we have great ambitions to grow globally, and we believe that our mission of financial inclusion and our mission of serving our customer will enable us to really greatly expand the business. Our headline goal today is to expand our business from 450 million consumers in China to over 2 billion worldwide over the next decade. And so globalization will be a key component of that as we look to expand. And so that's one point of the expansion. One thing I'd just like to note in that is we have partnerships with companies in different countries. For example, one named Paytm in India. And that's a joint venture that we put together a couple of years ago. And Paytm went from serving 35 million consumers to over 150 million over the course of the first year of our partnership. And so you can see the power to build local customer relationships with that kind of an example around the world. In terms of the merchant acceptance network, we see a great opportunity to expand that and indeed want to achieve over 1 million merchants outside of China over the course of the next several years. And our partnership with First Data and Verifone can be central to that here in the United States. And we see it expanding, with other partners across all the other markets. And frankly, I think we can expand much beyond that as we see the kind of needs of our consumers expand, and we see the opportunity. These are very big markets with, very large number of retailers, and so we think there's great opportunity for expansion beyond that.
So growing from 450 million to 2 billion, you obviously have a long way to go. Is it just consumers who aren't currently aware of what Alipay currently offers them, or is it the introduction of new products that they don't currently have?
It's really a combination. I think that the primary focus we have when we look at going into new markets is the underserved or the population that is not served at all. And so we feel like our product that is offered over the mobile phone in a very simple, low-cost way give these consumers access to the financial services system, and that'll be a big component of our business. If you look at, for example, the Paytm partnership we have in India, a good portion of those consumers are folks that didn't have access to other forms of financial services. Equally, though, we feel that what we offer through Alipay and the range of goods and services that I described earlier, we think will attract a much broader consumer base. And so, that's indeed what we've seen in China as people are increasingly demanding about what should I buy, where should I buy it, how much should it cost. Using our application, they can do that in a much more complete way. And so we plan to expand the consumer base, to both serve the underserved, but also to serve the general population as we go forward.
Well, it's a bold, but it's an important ambition, and glad that it's one that Alipay and Ant Financial is taking up. Doug Feagin, we're out of time. My thanks to you and to Money 2020 for a fascinating conversation today.
Thank you very much, Kayla. Appreciate the chance to be here. Thank you.